Welcome back for another top-notch video. This week we're going to be making the rhinoceros. With the rhinoceros it's a little more complicated. I expect some of the folds will be interesting, but as long as you just pay attention, and if you're behind just go ahead and pause the video, we'll go from there. I would say the total time to make this rhinoceros would be anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. And it's pretty easy. So let's dive into what exactly it takes to make this animal. Things you're going to be needing today are a note card, a pizza cutter, a ruler, writing utensils such as a marker and a pencil, your Sharpie tool or X-Acto knife, a little bit of glue, paper clip, and if you really don't have an X-Acto knife, maybe some scissors. I like to use a cutting board as well, and as always some construction paper. So moving into the first thing you'll be needing is your note card. And with your note card, what you're going to want to be doing is, the reason we use this is so you have a pattern again. Once you have that pattern, you can continue to make the rhinoceros. So what I have here is the rhinoceros pattern we're going to be using. As you can see, it's about the same size as the note card, and I already made a cutout of it, but I'm going to give you guys some measurements of what you're going to be looking for this animal. So as you can see, the rhinoceros is about the same size as the note card. Some key points is make sure the tail all the way up the body line is touching, and then the very top of the horn is touching as well. Some of the measurements that you're going to want to look for this is, I have from the tail to the tip of the horn is 11 centimeters. The feet I have are the bottom to the top is about 4.3 centimeters. That's for both feet. The width of the feet from the back to the front, very, very back of the feet to the very, very front of the feet, I have about from the legs, not the feet, I guess, 4.7, and then the bottom of the feet I have about 5 centimeters. That neckline you're going to be looking at is going to be right around 2.6, 2.7. The tail is around 2.5 centimeters, and like you can vary the tail, it's up to you. My horn is straight from the body to the head is about 1.5 for the top of the horn. So let's go into making this rhinoceros. I like to start with the pencil instead of the marker, and the reason we do that is because you can always change your pencil lines and your pencil marks. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is the tail. And like I said, you want to make sure it's up here on close to the crease of the construction paper when you start working with that. And the tail is going to bow out. It's going to be pointed, and it's going to bow out at first and come right back into the body of that note card, so it's nice and thin. And right around that mark I measured 2.5, you're going to start bringing that down. Here's the anus of the rhinoceros, and you're going to bring that right down into the leg. Now these legs are kind of thick, so just be aware that it is a rhinoceros, and you're going to bring that down. It's very important with the back leg that the toe is smaller than the front leg, so it's going to be nice and small here, and then you're going to bring that up. And then with the back leg, you also want to bump here, moving into the belly, and just kind of creased out a little bit, and then into the belly you're going to want to bring that down and out a little bit, and then back up into the second leg. Second leg will be rounded and down and then out. And once again, this toe is going to be bigger than the front. It's almost like the size of the foot, I would like to say. And you're going to bring that up, and you're going to have it's going to come into the body here, and then once you come up, it's going to just angle out towards the head area, and it's going to go straight into the neck, and the neck's going to bow down just a little bit and then back up into the head, and it's going to come down into the face or the mouth right here of the rhinoceros, and you're going to bring that right up here to the nose, and that's going to be pointed out, and then you move into the horn, and the horn is going to bow out just a tad. As you can see, there's a gap down here, and you're going to bring that up all the way to the tippy top, and you're going to run right off the sides of the paper, and you're going to bring that right back down, and that's your first horn. The second horn is going to be a lot smaller, and then there's going to be this kind of bump on the head, and this can be wide or small, it's up to you, and you're going to bring that right up off the paper, off your cardstock. The final piece to your rhinoceros is you're going to want to add the fold lines. Now with the fold lines, it's important that you're paying attention to this neck area. That is the key area for the folds in regards to your rhinoceros. This first line here from the bottom of the neck up into the head will determine your head positioning of your rhinoceros. As you can see on mine here, the space you have here will determine if you want the head to be lower or higher. Now this one was kind of low, as you can see. I'd like to have a connection here, so I'm going to design this one just a little bit closer to that neckline so that I have less space here. Your second line will determine the head positioning. If you want your rhino looking up, you're going to want more space here. If you want him looking down, you want a very narrow space here. Straight, a little bit wider in between. I want my rhino to be looking kind of straight on this one, so I'm going to make it closer. The closer you put these folds, the harder it will be to make your rhino. So I have the head where they're connected to the body on that first one, and the head positioning looking up or down. This will determine like if you want your him to be alert or if you want him to be like grazing. The next line you're going to want to include are the ones on the feet. You're going to put those right in the middle, going straight up, right about the middle of the body, and one on the back feet, same thing. The final fold you're going to have is your tail, and depending on how angled you have it will give you the position of the tail. And with all these folds, it's important, I haven't been using it, but it's important that you have a ruler or a straight edge so you can get that really nice line in there for when you decide to later fold it. Now this is a pretty steep one, so that the tail will be pretty angled downward. The higher up the tail. I'm sorry, it's the opposite way. So the longer you have this, the lower your tail will be, and the upper, if you have it more up, the tail will be facing more up, like it is now on the rhino. So it just really determines where you want your positioning on that rhino. I took it on the back side here to kind of show you guys in outline. Now, like I said, I like to do it in pencil so that I can erase the lines. But as you can see, this is my rhino with my folds included. And I would never do these folds in marker. I only do it for the videos so that you guys can see. That way I can go back and erase them. But that is the rhino. So once you have your rhino, you're going to want to take your tool here and you're going to want to cut this out. The most important part is this part up here. You're going to want to make sure that that part is cut out first. So with your Sharpie tool or scissors, you're going to start cutting this out. Add some pressure and cut that out. It's very important with the horn that you're going to cut down and away. Because you do not want to disconnect that horn, but you want it to be sharp. You want it to look sharp, so make sure you have that cut out. And always never ever ever cut on the dotted lines. The dotted lines are your folds. As you can see towards the back side here, I didn't really have a good tail. You want to make sure that this is closer to the body and this is farther out so that you have a loop with that. Once you have that cut out, it's going to look something like this here. As you can see, I have the little horn, the big horn, and none of the lines that are dotted were cut. This is going to be your pattern, guys. So then once you have your pattern, you're going to want to move it to your construction paper. with your construction paper, you're going to want to fold that in half. And make sure this crease here is really, really good. Once you have that crease, you're going to put your rhinoceros cutout on the paper. And then once again, I would go over it in pencil to get that cut out of that rhinoceros. And just use the measurements we had earlier. You can scroll back through the video and get the measurements. And just go over the entire cutout of your rhinoceros. Make sure you have a little gap here again, and the belly, and on the neck, just little bumps for that rhinoceros. And then up here towards the horn, this is very, very important for this space up here. And to make sure you have this touching. This has to touch up here, guys, so that when you fold it out, basically when you fold it out, this is connected on your rhino. This is what you're going to come up with, is something like this. And then I did it on the back side, and I have it completely in marker so you guys can see every one of these folds. As you can see, it's connected here towards the top. It's still really pointy, but it's connected. And then these are my fold lines again. And then like your cutout, you're going to go ahead and with your Sharpie and just go in here and go ahead and cut these lines. Now it's important to cut out this portion first. And it's important to press down, have a really good firm pressure so you can get through both sides of that paper. Now, you probably won't get it, and it's important to go away towards your body and away from the top of the horn there so that you can get a good, nice cut out of that horn. It's going to take a few times to get this cut out. And my swivel knife, it swivels, so it's a lot better than just a regular X-Acto knife. You might want to go pick one of those up. That's a really, really nice feature. I tried doing it without a swivel Sharpie once, and it just doesn't turn out as nice. Sometimes you're going to have issues with your cutout. You just go to the back side, and you can kind of see where you're cutting out, and just continue to do that. It's going to take time, guys. Just be patient with it, and you'll get it cut out eventually. Once you have your rhino, the cutout is going to look something in regards to this right here. And with my rhino, like I said, you want to do this small portion up here first. So once you have the small portion up here, you're going to have this all cut out and cut that out, and it will cut away. And that's the top portion. And then once again, you're going to cut down here with your rhino to cut this out. Be careful these the neck, because you're going to have that bow out a little bit. Remember, this goes into the body here. The belly, you're going to have that bow out a little bit. And then this on the back leg kind of comes into the back leg. Smaller toe up front, bigger toe in the front. Smaller toe in the rear, bigger toe up front. The tail is going to be tricky, so just be very careful with that. And eventually, once you have it, go over it a few times with your knife or your scissors, it'll pop out. You can discard the construction paper. And let's move into the next portion. The next portion gets a little tricky, guys, so just be very careful. Now, like I said, you have these lines on here. The first line here determines where you want your neck, lower or higher, on the body. And the second line determines the head positioning. Okay? So you're going to go over these about 6 to 7 times with medium pressure, not enough to cut it, but to get a good fold line on your rhinoceros. Once you do on that side, you're going to go on the back side and do the same thing. This one I put a little closer because I want the neckline to match up instead of being farther down. You're going to do that for the feet. Now I'm going over it twice and adding a decent amount of pressure, but you might need to go over it a few other times. Do not cut through these. And then the tail. Now the final portion is going to be to get this completely, once you have it completely folded out like this, you can see where your fold lines are. Now mine are, I wanted it a little bit closer, so I went with this fold line here. Now that first fold line is what you're going to do is you're going to fold the rhinoceros head down. That's for the neckline positioning. And you're going to fold the rhinoceros together. And as you can see, the head is now under the body. Okay? And you're going to increase those fold lines so that it's a good, nice, clean fold. Once you complete that, you're going to open it up again. And you're going to want to do that second fold line. The second fold line gets kind of tricky. You're going to fold it up like that with the rhinoceros, and you're going to want to increase it on the bottom here where I have my middle finger and my index finger. Get a good crease fold there. You can even bring it all the way out. Be careful, don't pull it all the way out though, because it's still folded. And then bring that rhinoceros down. And as you can see, now that first line was a little too far out for me. This is a much better matchup on the head here. Some people like their head lower. I like this one that it matches up here and it matches up down here. The next fold are the feet. You're just going to fold those in a little bit to give that some body structure on both the front and the rear. And go ahead and do that on the other side. Front and rear. And then the last portion is the tail. The tail is going to be a little tricky too, guys. You're going to push down on that fold. Make sure you have a good fold. And it's going to fold down just like that. And give it a good crease with your fingers. And then I reverse fold the tail so that the paper matches. Otherwise you get the white on the bottom. So it's a reverse fold. And as you can see, that's kind of how it sits. Now the last portion, what you want to do is you're going to want to use your glue so that you can do the 3D portion to get this rhino to really stand out. Where you're going to want to glue is right up here on the tail, just a small spot, and on the very, very tip of the nose here, just a very small dot of glue. And it can be any kind of glue. And then typically I'll do this with my fingers to make sure it matches, and then you can use a paper clip or a clothespin to really get a good solid grip on that. And that takes about 20 minutes or so to dry. And once you have that done, you'll have a product that looks somewhat like this. Now my neckline was lower on this guy, so be aware of that. But then, I mean, this is a pretty good looking rhino. And then to get that body effect, that 3D body looking effect on my rhino, I'm going to come back up with my fingers and just push out the body here on the main body. Push on the back here to give it those legs a little support. And you can go over the folds again on the legs. And as you can see, it starts to really take form of that 3D rhino. Now the tough portion that some people have is the top here. And what you can do for that is you can stick a pencil up here into the horn, all the way up into the horn. Be careful, very careful up here of this. And you can push it down squeeze it down with your fingers, kind of roll them a little bit, and that gives it the 3D effect up front. And that gives it a good, nice portion with your body. On the tail, you can have that higher or lower. It's up to you, whatever you choose. Some people like it up high. Some people like it way down low, just like that. And as you guys can see, that is the rhinoceros for this week. Pretty cool little product. Like I said, not the hardest one to do. A lot of fun. I enjoy it. If you guys like this video today, go ahead, like, subscribe, or share this on a craft Facebook page or something like that. If you have any questions, write them in the comments below. And that's another top-notch video. See you guys next time.